I caught my wife cheating, so her affair partner's wife and I served them papers at their next meeting. Let me give you a bit of background on my wife and me. We've been married for 8 years, and every year we visit this amazing resort about an hour away from our home. We have a tradition of driving up in her car, and it's always a blast. We've made a lot of great memories. We were there, and we look forward to it every time. Well, yesterday things took a turn for me. My wife was about to get into the shower when she realized that she had left her phone in her car, so she asked me to go get it for her. It seemed like no big deal, so I went to her car, opened the passenger door and reached for her phone, which was lying on the passenger seat. Then something caught my eye. My eye was caught by a pack of matches from the resort between the passenger seat and the door. I didn't think much of it at the time since we always drive her car there. I just pocketed the matches and carried on with my day. Well, it just so happened that my good buddy Bob and I had planned to have lunch that day. He's a fishing buddy of mine who was passing through the area close to the resort. He suggested we meet up for lunch, so I figured why not? I suggested we eat at the resort. I handed my wife her phone and reminded her that I'd be having lunch with Bob that day. She asked where we would be eating, so I told her we were going to meet at the resort, because it was close to where Bob would be passing through. She tensed up for a brief moment. She seemed a little tense at first, but I didn't think much of it. I got myself ready, gave her a kiss goodbye and was on my way. Bob and I met at the resort for lunch. We had a great chat about our past fishing trips and started discussing where we'd go on our next one. As we were leaving, Bob grabbed a few packs of complimentary matches from the box on the counter. We stepped outside, lit the matches, and I lit a couple of cigarettes and noticed an advertisement on the matchboxes for a great fishing spot with cabin rentals. It looked like a fantastic place to check out, and we chatted about how much fun it would be to go there. We agreed that we'd both do a little research and make a decision soon. Bob then got in his car and headed down the road. I realized I hadn't grabbed any matches for myself, so I went back inside to get a few packs before heading home. As I was getting them, I mentioned to the desk clerk how much I liked the picture on the matches. He said, "Yeah, we just got those 3 days ago." I was a bit confused and told him that I had a pack in my pocket that I'd gotten 6 months ago. He assured me that the design was brand new. I noticed a check under the names John and Z. Braden in the registry book that was open on the counter. My wife's name is Z, so I pointed it out and said that it was an odd name. The clerk agreed that it was different and told me that John and Z come to the resort about once per month, checking in at noon and leaving by 8. It was 10 p.m. at this point. I was trying to make sense of it all. First, there were the matches, and then there was the girls' day out, where she had left around 11 a.m. and gotten back home around 9 p.m. And now there's another woman with the same name on the registry at the resort. I thought there's no way this is just a coincidence. I kept my cool and chatted with the clerk before leaving the resort. On the drive home, I was thinking a lot. I couldn't believe what I'd found out. My wife, my loving Z, had been cheating on me. Not just once, but every month for who knows how long. I felt angry and betrayed, but I knew I couldn't just confront her. I needed to think about what to do next. I needed a plan. Revenge was the only thing that would make me feel better. She'd hurt me, so why shouldn't she hurt some as well? As I drove home, I started plotting. I knew that next month Z would be going on her girls' day out again, but this time I'd be ready. I'd make sure she got a surprise she'd never forget. I forgot about it. That's when I came up with my perfect plan to serve her divorce papers during her next fling. As soon as I got home, I started looking into John's background. I found out that he had a wife named Julia. I tracked her down on Facebook and sent her a message. I sent her a message telling her I had some information about her husband that she'd want to know. I gave her my phone number and she called me that same day. We had a long conversation and I told her about my plan to serve Z divorce papers. At first Julia was furious and didn't want to wait, but I managed to calm her down. I convinced her that getting revenge would make her feel better and make the divorce process easier on her. She'd be able to hold her head high, walk away with pride, and not let John get away with this hurtful act so easily. She asked me She asked me who I was going to use to draft my papers. She said she didn't know anyone personally, and that she could probably just use the same one I was using. I told her that I had a friend who was an attorney, and that he was really good at his job. So we both contacted him, which turned out to be a great thing. The plan was to show up at the resort around dinner time during next month's rendezvous when Z and John would be meeting. My buddy, the attorney, was going to pose as a photographer taking pictures of happy people at the resort. I would follow behind him with a video camera, wearing I wore a hairpiece and a baseball cap to hide my face. We thought the staff might stop us if they realized we weren't supposed to be there, but we didn't need to keep up the ruse for long, so we weren't too worried. We just needed time to get set up at the table to drop the bomb, and then it wouldn't matter. We got to their table to take their picture and video, and that's when I took off the hat and wig, revealing my face from behind the video camera. Z's face went white as a ghost. She looked at me in total disbelief. I knew I had caught her off guard. She was usually pretty quick and witty, but at this moment she was totally speechless. The attorney served her the papers right then and there, and I started pressuring Z to sign them immediately. I told her that she was to walk away with only her personal belongings and her car. I told her that if she didn't sign, I'd show the video to everyone we knew, including her parents. She resisted, so I turned to JN and told him I knew about Julia. I said that if Z didn't sign the papers right then, I'd tell Julia about the affair. John started putting pressure on Z to sign. She was looking at him the way she had been looking at me with shock and disgust. I really thought he'd have her back and be willing to sacrifice himself for her. So now, feeling hopeless and trapped, she signed the papers, effectively signing away everything to me besides her car and personal belongings. The tension started easing just a little as I pretended to turn and walk away, papers in hand. That's when we dropped the big bomb on them. I revealed that I was going to show everyone the video anyway, that Julia was also there. Julia came out of hiding, and the attorney served JN with divorce papers as well. So there we were, back at square one. John refused to sign the papers, and what was really amusing was that Z lost her cool on him right there in the restaurant. She was annoyed that he wouldn't sign his papers after pressuring her to sign hers. I started to get the feeling that this was going to be their last fling together. The drama finally came to an end, and my colleague Julia and I walked back to the car park together. Julia asked me to send her a copy of the video, which I immediately agreed to do. Julia left, and my colleague hopped in my truck with me and we headed back home. In the end, I followed through with my promise and sent the video to everyone via Facebook Messenger. Our friends and her family were shocked and embarrassed by the video. The video ended up having to be sent to her parents, who she ended up having to move back in with for a while. I had really come to respect them over the years, and although it was a nasty thing to do, I really didn't want them to get an earful of lies about the situation. I really needed them to know the truth about how this had all transpired. Julia also got nearly everything in her divorce with John and was satisfied with the outcome. We were both extremely proud of we were driven by revenge and had no remorse for what we'd done. After all, our cheating spouses had betrayed our trust. We managed to expose their deceit in a way that left us both feeling vindicated and empowered. What do you think? Was it too much, or did those cheaters get what they deserved? Let us know your opinions in the comments below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell.